Hi, welcome back. Tonight we're going to talk about something very close to my heart, that is traditional pocket knives. Now, what is a traditional pocket knife? Well, to me, it's the classic styles, instantly recognisable, of not necessarily brand, but styles of pocket knife, folding pocket knives, that is, such as the Trapper or the Swiss Army knife, the clip point, you know, your slip joints, these kind of things. So I've looked into my fairly extensive collection and picked out just four randomly of traditional examples that we'll have a quick chat about. So the first is this one. Now this is just an unbranded Chinese lockback, made in the classic lockback style. So it looks like a buck 110. Well, actually, more like a buck 112, given the size. The buck 110 is huge. So this is more like a buck 112. And the reason that I bought this was because it reminded me of the very first pocket knife I ever owned when I was 9 or 10 years of age. And it's just, a timeless design. Now, the fit and finish on this one isn't great. It's okay, it's mediocre, but it's decent enough. But it was £3 from a Chinese retailer online. Now, £3 for the fit and finish that you get, you would pay, I don't know, £15. But you get three, and you get this. So for £3, absolutely delighted. Now, it doesn't have a branded steel, it just says stainless China. So it's probably 01 tool steel or 3CR13, something really soft. And it didn't come super sharp from the factory. I had to strop it, and that's okay. That's what you expect for £3. For our American friends, that's about $5, and a ridiculously cheap pocket knife. But it's just a classic style, and I'm really fond of this one. Classic design, and almost exactly like the one I had when I was 9 or 10 years old. Mine was just a little bit smaller. So I bought this for nostalgia's sake, and also because it was just so cheap. But, look at that. Very fond of it. And it's not in bad shape, there's no lateral blade play. The fit and finish around the scales could be a bit neater, and, the grind maybe could have been a bit steadier, but £3. I don't know what that translates to in Chinese currency, but it's literal pocket change. It's the price of a sandwich in Scotland, so I was delighted. This one here is a bit of an odd one. So this is from a brand called Perkin, who their literal excuse me, their website and things claim to be the UK, sort of England based, but they're very much Chinese. So I don't know what's going on there, if that's just a stylistic thing. But I bought this because it reminded me so much of the one that my grandfather had. Now, my grandfather carried the pocket knife, as did my dad. That's where I got into the kind of habit and routine from. And this one, it claims to be bone. I strongly suspect that it's plastic, but it does look very realistic. Fit and finish is absolutely fantastic. It was a little bit expensive for what you get. It was about £25. This was purchased from Amazon about a year ago. Classic, again, clip point blade shape, nail nick, and on non-locking slip joint, UK legal. However, on this one, I hated the grind on the blade and the blade stock thickness, which is about 4mm. It's quite substantial. So what I did was I painstakingly reground it on a whetstone over 2 days, in the evenings when I wasn't working, until I got a sort of hollow grind, because what it came with was like a double bevel, horrible, thick behind the edge, couldn't cut. It wasn't that the edge wasn't sharp, but the geometry was all wrong. So Now you've got just a nice classic hollow grind with a sort of micro bevel on it, and nice and sharp, and a lovely strong slip joint mechanism, and just a classic looker as well. It did come with a real leather pocket slip as well. I quite like the stainless steel bolsters on there as well. Classic look. Next, okay, this, I'm sure you're all familiar with this, is the Opinel. Now this is the Opinel number 5, a bit smaller, in carbon steel, which isn't the standard for Opinel. Opinel's standard steel is inox, I believe. The Opinel number 6 that I had was inox, and I think the Opinel number 2 that I have is also inox. But this is their carbon steel number 5. Now, again, non-locking. Opinel don't start putting locks on their knives until the number 6 upwards. So the 2 to 5 models are all UK legal. The number 6 is probably UK legal as well, based on blade length and the fact that the lock doesn't catch automatically. You have to manually decide to put it on. I carried an Opinel number 6 in my pocket in the UK for a couple of years, every single day, hard use daily, until such time as it just, you know, the wood gets a bit swollen, it's untreated internally, and it becomes a bit stiff, and then I just moved it on. I mean, they're really cheap, £9 or something like that. Just a classic style. Not a lockback, not a slip joint either. No mechanism involved at all, really. It's just a single pin in the pivot. That's what makes the blade pivot. So you've got a single piece of beech wood curved into a really comfortable shape, and then your blade and just a pivot, just a rivet there through the pivot hole, and that's it. So basic, so fancy. Sometimes called a peasant knife. And these and Lagiols are your classic French EDC peasant pocket knives. Love an Opinel. I'm a big fan of Opinels. I love classic knives with character. I don't go in a whole lot for the kind of tactical flip knives and flick knives and all that. I do own some of them, most of which were gifts from family. It's not really my style. I like a classic slip joint or lock back or that kind of thing. And I don't mind two-handed opening. You know, I don't have any need to kind of deploy my knife super fast and anything like that. You know, that's for posers. And I live in a rural village in the west of Scotland, so I'm not out there knife fighting biker gangs anyway. So what do I need that for? I carry a pocket knife to open my mail and, you know, open a packet of sandwiches. So anyway, I digress. Next one, the Boker Trapper. This is a lovely knife. Now this is jigged bone with brass bolsters. They might not be brass, they might be gold finished steel. Lovely classic trapper knife, slip joint, double bladed. So you've got your usual clip point. See if I can make that focus there. And then you've got your trapper knife as well. I forget what this blade shape's called, so feel free to remind me in the comments. So this is one that I carry all the time, especially when I'm out hiking in the woods, which I do once a month or so. I live right on the edge of the countryside. It's got great weight in the hand, a bit like the Perkin actually. Both quite weighty, quite substantial pocket knives. They're not, you know, super light like the Opinel. The Opinel, other than its sort of thick girth, it weighs almost nothing, a few grams. These are chunky boys, you know. But the snap and action on this is just sublime. Reminds me a little bit of Victorinox slip joints, just how snappy it is. And the blades, D2 is the steel, I believe. Just gorgeous, you know. Takes an edge really well. I just use a ceramic V honer on this. Whenever I'm not quite satisfied with it, I'll take it out in the woods and I'll carve sticks and stuff like that, and then I'll come back and I'll just run it through a ceramic V. I actually keep a little pocket sharpener in my kit bag when I'm out and about, which has a little ceramic V on it. So, you know, just pull it through that, and I'm always satisfied with the results. It'll always slice thereafter. Again, UK legal, they're just about 3 inches in blade length. You know, they're on the legal side of 3 inches and non-locking. So, yeah, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous blades. So yeah, the Boker Trapper jigged bone is so tactile, really feels good in the hand. Really, really nice. I don't love, if I had one criticism for balance, I don't love this printed branding, etched branding on the blade. I'm not a huge, you know, I don't wear a lot of logos on my shirts and stuff. I'm not a huge fan of big visible branding, but, you know, it was a stylistic choice. They were going for a traditional thing. So there we go. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Classic, traditional folding pocket knives, and that's very much the kind of thing that I carry in my pocket every single day, whether it be a modern take on a traditional like my Benchmade Proper 318 or something like a Victorinox Swiss Army knife. You know, real, I like a traditional pocket knife. Suits me down to the ground, and it probably goes back to childhood. It's probably a nostalgia thing, you know. My dad, my granddad both carried, you know, a really simple traditional folder, and that was what was introduced to me. I was about 9 or 10 years old when I got my first one, and I've had one in my pocket ever since, and I just like the style, you know. It just suits me down to the ground. The whole super fast action, tactical black, deploy it from your pocket without touching it and all that, doesn't really, leaves me cold. It's not for me. But again, I live in a little tiny village of a few hundred people that's a mile long and right on the edge of the countryside in Scotland, so maybe I don't need a ballast song or some tactical deploying flipper or what have you. You know, horses for courses. There are different knives for different people, different strokes for different folks. But what really arouses my interest, piques my curiosity, is nice, traditional, classic folders. Take care.